أعوذ بالله من الشيطان العين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. There are two forms or two ways that we can perform our responsibilities as Muslims. The first one is as individuals. We're connected individually to our families, to our jobs, to our children, and to our friends, to our own close circle. And when we perform an act, we act as an individual in that circle. The second way that we perform responsibilities as Muslims is as a community. I wanted to show you the picture. Some of you may have seen. This is a recent picture that was taken last month. It's in New South Wales, a farm in New South Wales that's experiencing drought. In fact, New South Wales this winter was declared in its entirety in state of drought. And this has happened similarly in other states like Queensland, for example. And even in Victoria, we have Bendigo experiencing drought. A lot of us in the Muslim community are not really aware of what's going on around us, but I wanted to show what happened in other Muslim communities. If we can go to the next slide, please. These are headlines. The first one says, Muslims rain prayers for farmers. Tens of thousands of Muslims in New South Wales congregated together to do dua and rain prayers for the farmers in New South Wales. Tens of thousands of Muslims gathering together. This is the Australian, by the way, one of the major newspapers, national newspapers, and it was reported in multiple newspapers. On the other side of the slide, we've got a group of Muslims donating 33 tons of hay for farmers in Queensland. This happened only a few days ago. It's phenomenal to see something like that in the news, and very strange as well, because it's always about bombs and about terrorism, and this is really good news. Imagine this collective effort if it was offered individually. If someone steps on their own to the street and start doing the rain prayers. It's obviously not going to be as effective as having a whole community in the thousands doing the prayers for a number of reasons. Firstly is because of the collective blessing, the aggregated blessings that happen to the community itself, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala magnifies our acts as an ummah. As a unit. Even in our prayers, when we do congregational prayers, the reward are multiple times more. So this cohesion provides support, mentorship, exchange of ideas, and it also allows our children to grow with a sense of safety and a sense of connectedness that's beyond being on our own. We're really missing that aspect in our own communities. If we look at Victoria, for example, we have an amazing community. As individuals, we do incredible work in our communities. We have donations happening. We have people doing good deeds. We have, our moral values are really, really high. But when it comes to community work, perhaps we are one of the most fragmented communities in Australia. And I've been here since 1985. And have seen the community grow in Victoria, and have seen why this fragmentation is happening. One of the excuses that I give myself for this, and a lot of us do, is because of lack of leadership. And that's true. We don't have somebody in our community that leads the way. That is able to make decisions on our behalf, that tells us what to do, that mobilizes the community and brings us together, that sorts out our problems. We have struggled with that since our inception, since our beginning here in Victoria, and even when we had a scholar in the early days, we were a small community still, and then it all fell apart. And hence we have now a lot of issues with leadership. The problem is not just that, though, because if you look at it this way, it's a very negative way of looking at things, and it's an excuse, like the respected Sheikh when he was talking about shaitan and how shaitan impacts on us, not just on an individual level, but on a community level. It provides us with excuses to stop doing the right things. We can look at it in a different way. We can say that actually this lack of leadership makes Victoria one of the best places to prepare for the emergence of Al-Hujjah, عجل الله فرجه. Because it puts a responsibility on us that we are in a position of waiting. We are in a position of waiting for that leader, for that sheikh, for the imam to appear. And in order for us to be in the state of waiting, we have to prepare. We have to be ready as a community. This means that each person in this community in Melbourne, in Victoria, needs to be a leading force. This is very different than being a leader. We have a lot of people in our community who want to be leaders. This is our problem, okay? But we don't have enough people who want to be a leading force, the movers and the shakers in the community, the people who are willing to be in the background, but push forward. We don't have good followers. We always talk about leaders. What about the followers? We don't have the etiquette of followers to be able to see a good thing and think, hey, I'm going to stand by that, instead of trying to find something negative in it. One of the things that we do in the 10 nights of Muharram is we become emotionally charged. We gather this potential energy through hearing lectures, through emotionally connecting with Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, when he acted, he didn't act as an individual, as a father, or as a son, or as a husband. He acted as part of a community, part of the ummah. He was answering the call of the ummah when he acted. And this is why his message is so universal. This is why it applies to every aspect of our lives, because it's about facing a challenge collectively. And every person with him as a companion had an important role to make this happen. This is why we have the 10 days where we commemorate individuals in those 10 days, not just Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So as we gather this potential energy, do we release that in the form of latum and crying and stop at that point and feel good that we have paid respect to Imam Hussein? Or do we move beyond that to create a new tradition where Muharram becomes, for the Victorian Muslims, the beginning of creative ideas, of a think tank where we plan for our future, where we take steps to collaborate as a community, where we're willing to extend a hand as individuals, share our skills, because we're all very skilled. We all speak English fluently. We whether we are new migrants or second generation, whether we're young or old, every single one of us have talents and skills and abilities to contribute to make this move forward. And I'm proposing this idea. If we can have the next slide, please. Where this is a Google form to put in there your skills, who you are, where you see this idea going forward and how, and whether you're willing to collaborate with other people to move forward. This period from the end of the 10 days of Muharram to the Arba'een could potentially be the period where we make change in the name of Imam Hussein. The only issue with this could remain as an idea only, and it won't move forward. Just like all the other ideas, I have a lot of people coming to me saying, why don't you open a school? We need a school. Why don't you have more programs to educate, in Arabic? Why don't you go out and, get into politics? Why don't you represent the community in this thing or that thing? Volunteers that we have in these small organizations like Beacon of Hope or Australian Made can't really proceed forward without you taking that leadership role. Okay, the leading for change. So by taking that first step of filling the form and creating focus groups where we gather people who are like-minded to work on similar ideas and move forward, there is potential that we can change this energy into an actual reality and see things happen. And I hope that you take this advice or this idea from me as your sister, inshallah, and I hope to see a lot of feedback tonight. And sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.